Hi guys and welcome back. The first thing you're going to need in order to make this goat witch is get yourself a foam mannequin head. I got the guy mannequin head because that is all my store had, and then cover that bad boy with that acrylic gloss. That's going to assure that these prosthetics will come off easy and clean. Then I'm using a technique from Ellimac and using a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to liquid latex and flour. I used 1 cup of liquid latex to a half cup of flour. Make sure that you only add a little bit of flour at a time so that everything will come together really nice. And then when you are done adding all of the flour, this is about the consistency you should have. She calls it a liquid latex paste. This is the reference picture I will be going off of to create this character. I randomly came across it and absolutely fell in love with it, so I wanted to make it. I was making a gremlin prior to making this goat witch, and that didn't turn out so good, and unfortunately I had worked on that gremlin for about 5 days, but I did learn a lot with working with this latex paste through that process, to where I feel like going through that actually made me become better at doing this. So in the end, it pretty much worked out. So I'm beginning by taking a fork and I place some of that liquid latex paste on the forehead. And the biggest thing here is making sure that your finger or tool, whatever you're working with, is dipped in latex, or it will stick to your finger and it can mess up what you're trying to accomplish. So make sure that you're using plenty of liquid latex when trying to smooth your prosthetic out. Another thing is to make sure you don't make your prosthetics too thick because they will not dry. I've run into this issue a lot of the time. Even last year when I did my she-devil, it seemed to not dry. So make sure you have plenty of liquid latex. I actually ran out through this process, so I was trying to get every last little drop when making all of my prosthetics, and I wanted to do them separately because I felt like it was easier. So I'm just following the reference picture and using a knife and pointed little wood kebab stick to make some details, and just starting to smooth out and form a forehead prosthetic. And then the nose, I'll move on to cheeks, and then I will also do a chin piece. So this is pretty much a very repetitive process, but in the end, I absolutely loved how it turned out. This whole process for all these different pieces took over an hour, but it was really enjoyable. I play a movie or some music and just kind of zone out and go to town. It's very therapeutic for me to make things, and in the end, I always feel like I really accomplished something, and with this character doing something that I have never personally seen done. So it was fun, and I think if you guys want to get into some FX makeup or making your own prosthetics and doing things like this, you will be so happy to have learned a new skill. So I would highly recommend giving this a try and creating your own character and just have fun with it. Now I'm going to have to take you back to a couple days prior to me making this goat witch. I made these teeth originally for my gremlin that you can kind of see there in the back. So I got this morphing plastic on Amazon, and what you do is pour some of those plastic beads into very, very hot water, and once they start to turn clear and you are able to handle them safely, you can just morph anything. You can make anything out of this plastic, and it turns very hard, very sharp, by the way, if you do anything pointed. These are very, very sharp teeth, so make sure you are careful. Oh, there's my little gremlins back there. I'm so sad that didn't work out. But anyway, that is all I did to make these teeth and form the teeth. for this goat witch that was originally for my other piece, but it's okay. It worked out so that I didn't have to waste these teeth, and I just placed these little plastic teeth into my lower lip. I did take some old, not going to be eaten, beef jerky. This was some stale beef jerky that I had in my cabinet, and what's a better use than using them for a prosthetic to look like a couple of moles on my witch? So they did not go completely to waste, and I kind of think they really do look like some old nasty crusty moles or warts, don't you think? Now moving on to the goat part of this witch, we're going to make some horns, and again I'm using an Ellimac technique, taking some aluminum foil and basically making some horns out of it. This is a super easy process. They're really lightweight, and I think they really look like horns because the next step is to wrap them with electrical tape. I did not wrap the whole thing. I left the bottom unwrapped because I knew I was going to be placing these horns into some latex paste. So this is probably the easiest, fastest part of the process, but unfortunately my liquid latex was starting to dry up a little bit in the bowl, which is another thing I wanted to let you guys know, is if you can work fast with this stuff and make everything in a timely manner, it definitely will work out better. And then there she is. This is what she looks like the next day, all dried. And I am going to start by painting her with some alcohol-based paints. I'm just taking some alcohol, pouring it into a cap, dipping my brush back and forth into the alcohol and then into the yellow paint. This was super easy, and the best thing about it is that when painting any type of Halloween look, doing any type, not even just prosthetics, I always say that it's more fun to do because you don't have to be so precise. Things can get sloppy and messy, but I think that's what is so fun about Halloween makeup. So I just start with the yellow based activated paint and paint all the prosthetics yellow. I then use some black just to give some detail with the nostrils and the little split in between the forehead piece. The next thing I'm gonna go and do is paint the teeth. I'm using this Mayron tooth paint. I think it's in the shade Nicotine. And this stuff's really easy to work with, but it is very pigmented. I did not realize that. But I think in the end it worked out. I do wish that I painted the whole teeth from top to bottom. I did leave some white there at the top, but gives her some character, right? I then switch over to an oil-based paint palette. Just like I said in my last video, this is a knockoff Makeup Forever Flash palette. I will link all products down below in the description box, but I go in with some yellow, some black, some brown, and just kind of go into all the little wrinkles and crevices that I made with that knife and the little kebab wood stick, just to give it some depth and dimension to the prosthetics. After I let it sit and dry overnight, it is now time for application. I took a headband and tried to make my hair as flat as I could on the top, and then tied my hair into a lower ponytail just to try and make my hair as flat as possible, because I will be going in with a bald cap. If you feel like when you are peeling off your prosthetics that it is sticking to itself, make sure you use some powder or flour so that it will come off much easier and not stick to itself. The reason I'm making this face is because I'm using an alcohol pad and basically cleaning and drying out my skin so that my prosthetics will stick better. Make sure you use some Vaseline to protect your eyebrows and all your little baby hairs on your face. Even if you think that you won't be putting latex there, Just do it for a peace of mind, because that has happened to me in the past where I didn't think I was going to be using latex on certain parts of my face. And guess what? You will not have hair no longer if you do not protect them with some Vaseline. Now I'm taking a sponge. I recommend using those little cosmetic sponge that you get at the drugstore. I do not have any, so I'm just using an old makeup sponge that I had, which was definitely not my favorite way of application when it came to liquid latex. So I would highly suggest getting yourself those little cheap cosmetic makeup sponges from the store. Lesson learned, but you know, you got to use what you got. And I put some liquid latex on my forehead and then placed the sexy bald cap on. To make it look flat on top, I just took a hair tie along with the bald cap with my hair very carefully so that I did not rip the bald cap, and just pull it as tight as I can and then secure it with the hair tie. Then take some more liquid latex on the sponge to secure the side, and then I make sure that I go over the edges with the liquid latex as well. Felt like I needed to cut some of this bald cap off that was around my eyes. I would suggest doing this before, but unfortunately you kind of don't know what it's going to look like until you get it on. So if you do need to do this, please be very careful since you are around your eyes. And then again, I take some liquid latex on the edge there, and then just start placing some on the bald cap just to give it some more texture and rough it up a little bit. And then now it's time to move on to the first prosthetic. So what's cool is that you can cut these prosthetics because they are thin. And then basically this is a very repetitive process here. I just kind of measure out where I want my prosthetics and then place some liquid latex on my face, or in this case on the bald cap, and then also make sure to place some liquid latex on the prosthetic itself just to give it some extra security. And then once it is on and secure, then take some extra liquid latex around the prosthetic so that everything will look more cohesive and blend better. I'm just going to go ahead and repeat this process with all of the rest of my prosthetics, and then we will move on to the paint job. Now I'm going to take some Snazzaroo water activated paint in the shade Ochre Yellow and start painting my bald cap and my face. It's okay if some of this gets on the prosthetic because in the end everything will end up blending once we get some of the eyeshadow on and a couple other things on. Trust me and trust the process, my friends. So I am starting out with a Morphe, I think it's a M439 brush since it's a more dense type of kabuki brush. And then I will switch over to a smaller paintbrush to get into the little spaces and parts that are showing that the Morphe brush is too big to fit into. And I will go ahead and take this color down on my neck and a little bit on my chest as well, even though in the end it really doesn't matter. But yeah, just take that smaller brush just to get into all the little crevices. Just like in my last video, I'm going to be using the Pure X Rawbeautykristi palette and use the shade Camelot to kind of give some depth and dimension. I love using this eyeshadow palette because the colors are so pigmented and just make my life easier. So I start with that color and kind of go around the prosthetics. I will then move into the lighter and darker browns to, again, give more depth and just kind of go back and forth. And whatever I feel like needs some more blending, I will use those shades to make it all come together. For my eyes, I'm just taking the dark brown with a little bit of the lighter brown and just placing this all around my eyes and a little bit underneath my nose to create a shadow. I'm going to use some black hairspray paint. This is one of my favorite ways to bring everything together because, I don't know, it just always works so well. And this is a dirty witch. I mean, she's just in the woods living her best life, but she's dirty. So we need to make her look messy and sloppy and dirty. And I feel like this is one of the best ways to do it. And then I'm going to take some brown eyeliner and just start to line my waterline. And then I just kind of use some all over just to bring out the eyes more with that brown, because I feel like that brown was kind of fading off a little bit, and this brown eyeliner made it pop more than the eyeshadow. I also used it to create some extra moles because we lost one on my lip, so I just wanted to create some more moles in random places. I also figured I could use it for my lip, my top lip that is. I wanted to make sure that my top lip was really thin, so it's not like I overdrew it or overlined it or anything, but I wanted to make sure that it was kind of a saggy, droopy lip, so I did drag the product down a little bit to give it that little droopy, sad look. I got this wig off of Amazon. It was super cheap, so I didn't care to cut it up a little bit. I wanted her to have some eyebrows just like the picture, so I took some liquid latex and took the pieces of the wig that I cut and made her some eyebrows. This was a little bit of a process and kind of hard to work with, but in the end, it came out just fine. One of the last things I did was glue the wig right behind the horns with some liquid latex, and this held the wig on really well. So if you were to make this to wear out for Halloween, just know that your wig isn't going anywhere. I then give some extra sprays of the black hairspray paint, pop some yellow contacts in, and put a black cape on, and then this look is complete. I hope you liked this prosthetic and painting and makeup tutorial. This was so much fun to do, and I had so much fun creating it and doing something different. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you guys on my next one. Thanks for watching.